Belina Show, Friday style, Friday edition. And, Fridays didn't exist at 1 o'clock for about 14 years. We had Studio 12 Live, and, July ended, and so did Studio 12 Live after 14 years. And I was pondering, and we all know how painful pondering can be. And I'm like, what do we need on the Louie Belina Show? And I was like, we need NFL. We need more NFL. And reached out to Mitch Light, Braden Gall. They've been with me 20 plus years. And I'm like, they have nothing else to do. They can help me out. And I'm like, who do you know? And Mitch was like, hey, we got this guy with The Athletic, Josh Kendall, and he's an NFL dude. And I told Mitch, I'm like, man, that name is so familiar. And he's like, yeah, he covered South Carolina for the state. And I went, that's how I know him. And reached out, and I'm like, you want to talk NFL on Fridays? And he was like, wait, who are you again? And I'm like, oh, man, that hurts so much. But it's okay. Joining me now on the D4 Land Services Hotline, and joining us each Friday at 1, it is Josh Kendall of The Athletic. Josh, how's your world, dude? What are you up to? With 2 weeks out, and change a little bit here till the NFL opens up, where's your world at?
Well, my world right now is in the airport. I'm coming back from Indianapolis where the Falcons and Colts have joint practices. This is sort of a little inside baseball of how the NFL works this time of year. The preseason games are mostly meaningless, but these teams have joint practices, which are not, where the starters actually play against the starters and you actually figure some stuff out. So I was just at a couple of joint practices, and now I'm heading home.
So, okay, for you as an insider and the Falcons as your primary beat, and then you do the power rankings for the Athletic and everything, if you want to really get the scoop on the team you're watching, you go travel and watch the scrimmages against each other, because that's how you watch the starters play.
Yeah, and another sort of inside baseball thing. I don't know. We may be getting on a tangent right off the bat here, but in college football, the access has gotten so poor that the people who are telling you the story almost never get to see any practice. In the NFL, at least this time of year, you watch every practice almost, so you do kind of get a better understanding of what's going on. Regular season, that stops. You won't watch much practice then. But throughout training camp, everything's pretty much wide open.
Well, I'll share something with you. Texas A&M this fall, this might be the most open I've ever seen their practices. And it's not the whole practices. They've had a couple, but there's been more access to the media for viewing period, and even we'll say after practice to the players and coaches than I remember in a really long time. So the media's been able to watch more than in past times.
Yeah, and I think that's great. I think the idea that you have to keep all this, behind some shroud has always been a little silly. The NFL has been disproving that for a long time.
Oh, no, absolutely. So I wanted to kind of kick things off, our first intro to you, in the most simplest way possible, because whole off season, if I believe everything I've read, I think every team's going 17-0 and every team is going to the Super Bowl, but I think that's mathematically impossible. So right now, what teams, we'll just start with the team concept, what teams are you buying for 2026?
Well, at the risk of being on the bandwagon, I'm buying the Rams. Matthew Stafford is a guy, we're talking about the prehistoric days of the SEC football. Well, back when I covered him, Matthew Stafford's been a dude for a long time, and he's still a dude. Myles Garrett, who they traded for from Cleveland, the best pass rusher in the league. Aaron Donald sounds like he's going to come back, and if that dude just gives you 25 impactful snaps a game, that's plenty. So I think that the Rams are a prohibitive, not a prohibitive favorite. There's no such thing in this league. They are the favorite, and I think that that's legitimate. But I think that the Broncos are going to be very good. I think the Patriots, even though they have a harder schedule, could be good if their quarterback is the guy that we think he is. I think the Seahawks will be good again, but they've had a few things in their armor that make me skeptical that they're going to repeat. And the Eagles are, somewhat surprisingly fallen off the radar, despite still being, I think, really good.
So you still got the Eagles tier 1, maybe not on the elite side of it, but still have the Eagles tier 1?
I think so, yeah. Now I think a lot of people will sort of talk about them as a tier 2 team at this point. I still have them because of the strength of that roster, top to bottom, as a tier 1 team.
So the other side of that, and again, this is our introduction to you. I want everybody to get this is the mental space of a Josh Kendall. What teams are you selling? Which team are you not buying for 2026?
Well, basically the entire NFC South. I'm not buying them. I just watched the Falcons. They're not. I'll sell them. What teams am I not buying? I'm buying. I guess I am way too optimistic because I'm thinking of just going through the list. I forgot to mention the Chargers, who I do think are going to be good. I'm not buying. Certainly not buying the Cardinals. Cardinals are not going to be any good. I'm not buying the Raiders being any good this year. Although I think that they're better. The Packers, I'm on the fence about. I think they're a team. I'm not buying the Vikings. How about that? I'm not buying the Kyler Murray is going to resurrect his career and finally going to be a dude. I like Brian Flores in that defense, but I'm going to push back on. I mentally push back on any Minnesota optimism that I hear.
Yeah, I saw Minnesota. Win totals. I don't know DraftKings. I know the Athletic this week did some win totals. So at 8.7 from the Athletic predictive model, are you buying the over/under for the Vikings? Because you're selling them. You're not buying them as a contender. But at 8.7, would you buy the over/under on the Vikes?
No, I'd go the under on that. I could end up being wrong. Kyler may be the guy, but I've seen enough of that I'm not a believer in him. And that defense is really good under Brian Flores, but it can be a high variance defense, particularly with the personnel or sort of lack thereof they have on that side of the ball at this point.
So I saw, again, the over-under predictive models. We're doing teams right now. The Dolphins were 4.5 and the Cardinals were 4.4. Which one's going to be worse, man? Which one of those two is going to bring up the rear?
The Cardinals probably because they play in the NFC West, and they've got 6 games that they're going through a buzzsaw as long as San Francisco, doesn't fall apart just from the weight of their injuries. I think that the Falcons are in that conversation, except for the fact that they're in the NFC South, where it's an easier road to hoe. They'll get a few wins. The Dolphins in the AFC East, that's not a juggernaut division. I think that they'll piece together a few wins on the strength of a new staff and a new energy. I think Malik Willis is a interesting quarterback and gives you some opportunities to do some interesting things that'll get you a couple of wins.
Fair enough. And, we live here, state of Texas, Cowboys-Texans universe. I saw the Texans pull a 9.5 or 9.8 on the projection win total kind of thing. So I'll just stick 9.5 out there. Would you go over/under on the Texans?
Over. It's going to be close. Vegas always is. That's why they're Vegas. But I would go over. I mean, it's hard not to be a believer in that defense. Defense is not as sticky as offense. By that I mean, just because you have a great defense one year doesn't necessarily mean you're going to have a great defense the next year. It doesn't follow that path as much as offense does. But I think the Texans are going to be the exception to that rule because those guys, that's not a Brian Flores defense. They're not doing a bunch of crazy stuff. That's just 11 dogs, coming at you every snap. And that does carry over. That's pretty sticky. You can do that 17 times in a row. And then C.J. Stroud, I haven't given up on despite a very shaky end of the season.
The thing about the Texans and their defense, I love with their offseason plans, they didn't just sit on it. They actually looked to upgrade their defense. And maybe if they would have sat on it, then you could sit there and go, not as sticky. But they actually improved their defense in the offseason.
All right, we'll talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And an offensive addition that I like is David Montgomery. They had to run the ball better. David Montgomery's just a professional running back. He's not Jahmyr Gibbs. He was never going to be Jahmyr Gibbs in that Lions offense. I think he fits great as sort of a workhorse back in that Texans offense.
So Cowboys, Dallas, same thing, basically 9.2 to 9.4. So we'll go over/under on the win totals at 9.5. Where are you going with Dallas?
I'm not trying to suck up to your Texas people, I promise, but I'm going over. I like Dak. I'm a Dak guy. You can argue both sides of that coin. I'm a George Pickens guy as long as you can keep him focused. If they can keep his eyes on the prize for 17 games plus and put him with CeeDee Lamb, I think they're going to score a ton of points. Christian Parker's the new DC. Everybody speaks well of him. Caleb Downs, that safety out of Alabama, folks love, and elite safeties and super intelligent safeties can be force multipliers on defense.
So Cowboys, Texans, you go over on the both. I want to switch. We're visiting with Josh Kendall. He's with The Athletic. He joins me on the D4 Land Services hotline, like most guests of the Louie Bellina Show. It's going to be a Friday thing. So we're going to switch to players, individuals, and here we go. I'm going to let you take 5. Who's the top 5 players in the NFL for the 2026 season? You don't got to put them in order. That's too much work.
Josh Allen, obviously. Myles Garrett is, certainly not a guy who's been under the radar, just set the NFL single-season sack record. But I want you to imagine he did that playing for a Cleveland team that was pretty terrible, that almost never played with the league. Now let's imagine him with the Rams, a Rams team that's going to have the lead. And he doesn't have to worry about defending the run. He can just pin his ears back every time. I think as long as he stays healthy, that could be wild. I think Kyle Hamilton, for me, is a top 5 guy, Ravens safety. That's, a deep cut. But if you watch the way the Ravens used him, he's just a problems eraser. Wherever their defense at essentially all 3 levels has had an issue, they deploy Kyle Hamilton and he gets it fixed. I think just him with Jesse Minter is going to be good. I said Josh Allen, right? I don't know that Lamar, I've been a Lamar guy for a long time, but I worry that has played out. Who else now? I'm sitting here pacing this airport. I'm going to say the wrong names because I don't have a list sitting in front of me. Joe Burrow, I think he's got a chance to be in that group. We'll see.
Top 5 for the upcoming season. So what are the overrated can be harsh, but names that you might avoid, the common names that people hear all the time, but you're like, then not so much.
Well, can I just backtrack on what I just said? I think Joe Burrow could be on that. I think Joe Burrow's on that fence for me.
He sounds like the most dangerous player in the league now.
I think I think that he is. He's been on this real trajectory of one good year, one unhealthy, a roller coaster, and the Bengals follow him. But they've given that dude everything you could ask for. They've given him Jamar Chase and T. Higgins at the expense of spending on their defense. So I think there's a lot of pressure on him this year. Who else among the guys? I guess I'm going through the divisions. I'm not sure Brock Purdy's overrated. I know he's very polarizing, but I can't get on the Brock Purdy as elite train because what we've seen Kyle Shanahan do with quarterbacks throughout the league. I think that I'm not buying the Baker Mayfield is going to be dangerous because he's feeling disrespected by his own team this year. I think Baker Mayfield, alternates between dangerous to the other team and dangerous to his team in equal parts and has throughout his career. So it's just a kind of a crapshoot as to what you get there.
I like that. You're not buying he's just as dangerous to his team as the other team. So that's a push.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a push with Baker Mayfield. Hey, let's grab a quick timeout, come back, and again, we'll set up the expectations for the 2026 season. Josh Kendall of The Athletic hanging out with us on the D4 Land Services hotline. It's going to be a Friday thing, and each week we'll talk the top stories of the week and the top stories heading into the weekend. And, of course, once kickoff begins, the games of the upcoming weekend, too. DraftKings has a deal for any new customer. When you sign up, use the code KZNEAM. You spend $5, you get $150 in rewards within 14 days. Use the code KZNEAM and again, spend $5 and get $150 in rewards within 14 days. KZNE AM is the code. Event trading offered by DraftKings Predictions, a CFTC registered introducing broker. Trading involves risk of loss. Market availability varies. Eligibility restrictions apply. $50 every 7 days via click to claim, issued in non-withdrawable prediction dollars that expire in 1 year. It ends August 23rd. If you want to check out the terms, dking.co/predictions promo. Nationwide based on sportsbook predictions and free-to-play sports contest availability varies by state.
Aggie football sounds even better online. Check it out at radioaggieland.com.
The Louie Bellina Show, presented by CC Electric, Friday edition. We're joined again, Josh Kendall, The Athletic. Hey, Josh, if people want to follow you during the week, keep up with everything you do, where can they find you in the social world?
On Twitter, X, whatever it's called now, Josh the Athletic. I'm too old to be on any of those other ones. I don't understand them. I probably should be. Twitter X is, I don't know. It's scary out in those streets, but that's where I am.
Okay, as soon as you said a Twitter X, because that's the way I describe it, I kind of knew where you were leading with that. That's the natural progression. Next is, and that's all I have.
Yeah. That's I'm just trying to survive in a young person's world out there. So.
That is so outstanding on the Twitter X, and that's all I have. So, Josh, again, we're setting up 2026 NFL, your view of the universe, before, the top stories and all that kind of stuff. So let's just go through a quick version, your 2 cents, 5 cents, we need change here. Who's going to win the NFC East?
Eagles.
Come on, man, Cowboys, you know it.
I know. I don't want to suck up too much. I've already sucked up to them a little bit. I didn't want to be too much of a homer right out of the gate.
Fair enough. If you'd have said Cowboys, people would have been throwing stuff at the radios, and we can save that for later. Who's going to win the NFC North?
Lions in a bounce back year.
There we go. The fighting Dan Campbells, man. The NFC South, which you've already established, worst division maybe ever.
Despite my Baker hate, the Bucks. I mean, there's just not a lot of competition there.
I do look at the division. Does Tampa Bay even have to have a winning record to win the division?
No, Carolina didn't last year.
Because it's so bad. The NFC West, Rams, easy, nobody within 4 games of them.
It's not easy, but just because that division is a bit of a meat grinder. But yeah, Rams. I'm not going to buck the trend there.
No, no reason to ruin a perfectly easy prediction.
Yeah.
AFC East.
I like the Patriots more than most people. I know the Bill. It's dangerous picking against the Bills, but I like the Patriots more than most people. Give me the Pats.
I was going to ask you, but you answered it without answering it. Are the Patriots officially back? But for you, you're all in. You're buying Patriots are not just back, but they're all the way back.
It's a quarterback league, and I like that guy. I'm not saying he's better than Josh Allen, but I think Drake May is a dude.
In the AFC North, who you buying and selling in this one?
Ravens. I like the coach. Lamar bounce back year. Maybe this is just my institutional bias, but I like Baltimore.
Just so you'll know, I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, have been since the day I started watching the NFL, and to see the current state of the Pittsburgh Steelers breaks my heart in half.
I'm not an Aaron Rodgers guy, so we might not get along this year. We might have to, and then it might be rough.
Oh, no. I don't offend that way. I'm a pretty realistic type here. If you say something about a team I root for, there's 50-50 chance I agree. I can be realistic about things. Just so you'll know. So, yeah, Aaron Rodgers washed the torture chamber he puts, the teams and everything through. I think it's all BS.
I'm with you there.
So
his mouth's got more oomph than his arm these days.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. And then Pittsburgh refusing to invest in someone to develop behind them. And, the Steelers used to be the most elite front office organization in all of the NFL with a system they just carried over for decades, and now they're just trash. So, like I said, it breaks my heart, the state of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah. Aller might be a guy, though. He might be.
Maybe.
Underline might several times.
I'll tell you something. I'm one of those that takes all the results of NFL exhibition games and lights them on fire.
Yeah, I'm with you, but I thought he might be a guy before that.
Okay. See, that's fair. You had expectation, and he's done nothing to disprove your prior expectation.
Right.
AFC South, who's taking the dub? Who's going to win the division?
Texans. I think the Jags are interesting, but I like the D'Amico Ryans. I like that defense. I haven't given up on Stroud.
When I look at the AFC South, I kind of feel like the Texans help validate the division because it's not a very good division. It's not the NFC South, but it's not a very good division.
No, it's not, but it is not the NFC South. I mean, it's not you can't put them in the same breath.
Okay, I promise I'll put nothing in the same breath. Your feeling on the NFC South is just, man, Jacksonville's not that good. Indianapolis. The fall of Anthony Richardson, is that going to be a 30 for 30 soon?
I don't know if it's long enough to be a 30 for 30. I mean, this is the dude he was at Florida. This is the dude he's always been. The fact that this has surprised NFL people is shocking to me. I mean, that's just I don't know why we expected him to come to the NFL and be a different guy than he was throughout his Florida career. So it's a short story. It's a couple of sentences.
Well,
they picked the wrong guy. It's not working.
Okay. Well, I guess maybe it would be foolish of me, but wouldn't you hope that, this is it? There is no after this, that the money or something could motivate you one time, or that's just dumb?
I think sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. I think more often than not, that part of it doesn't motivate. Alone doesn't do it. I mean, I think you have to be able to have a path, a progression to get from where you are to where you need to be. And I've never seen that he has that path or progression. He's just not an accurate player. He doesn't bring enough in the run game. He doesn't bring enough in anything else so far in his career.
Oh, yeah, on that meta pitcher, his drafting was a mistake. When he was rising up prior to the draft, I never could understand that. I never figured that out.
Right.
Yeah.
NFL, for all the resources it puts into quarterback, still makes a lot of dumb decisions.
Well, okay, in a pre-draft concept, doesn't it just end up that like 6 quarterbacks are going to go in X, so teams just start convincing themselves? It has nothing to do with reality. It's just they're going to take them. There's nothing they can do about it.
Yeah, it's like a Wall Street sell-off in reverse. It's just, we got to start grabbing them, or we're going to miss the next big thing.
Yeah, they're not first-round grades, and, people that deal in that, I don't know how you approach the draft or any of that, and, there's like maybe 2 first-round grades at most, but yet 4 to 5 go, because the teams are going to take them, and once they change the whole paying on the first round, everything salary slotted, they can afford to make those mistakes.
Right, yeah, I mean, it's never going to change. I mean, it's such a quarterback league. You've got one, you're okay. You don't have one, you really don't stand a chance. So you can understand why they behave the way they do, despite so many of them just running into brick walls, cartoon style, so often.
Have you ever noticed, though, it's the same organizations that run into the same wall at the exact same spot over and over and over and over?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's why they're those organizations. That's why they're stuck there.
So the impossibility to learn, it seems institutional, and they fire their front offices all the time. So is it ownership problems, or just how does that happen?
Your guess is as good as mine. I don't know. I wish they'd pay me that money and let me try to run one of these things.
Then you could be a consultant.
There you go.
Then you could be I have a text message from Dave in College Station having a little fun. He said Joe Burrow made a deal with a Cajun witch doctor to win the Natty and is now cursed for the rest of his life. He's trying to explain the injuries.
Well, I think that's fine. I think that's fair, and it's probably worth it. I mean, there are worse things than being the king of Baton Rouge for the rest of your life.
That's true. They have casinos. Anything that has a casino for me gives it bonus points. So
Louie, I'm about to have to get on this plane. They're about to close the gate on me here.
Oh, well, dude, don't miss the flight. I mean, I'm honored if you miss the flight, but no. You can miss the flight another day. I'll talk to you next Friday. Be excellent, man.
Sounds good, bud. Appreciate you.
Yep, later. Josh Kendall is with The Athletic. He's going to join us Fridays here on the Louie Bellina Show, and he'll, of course, join us on the D4 Land Services hotline. If you ever need help with the land, and it's in the title, Land Services, right? See how that works? Go to d4landservices.com. Excavation, land cleared, and more. Go to d4landservices.com. If you want to find out every single thing they do, go to d4landservices.com. We'll be back. It is the Louie Bellina Show, Friday on the Zone 1150 AM and 93.7 FM.
Can't reach your radio? Listen to Aggie football online at radioaggieland.com.
The Louie Bellina Show, sprint to the finish. 2 o'clock we out here. The rest of the day on the Zone 1150 AM and 93.7 FM, Paul Feinbaum Show, powered by Polaris Fun Center, 2 to 4. Chip Howard Sports Talk. And on the Fridays, there's no Chip Howard. Fridays are Ryan Starr and Caleb. Ryan has been talking to me about the show all week long, even if I didn't ask him. So I can tell you, he's fired up. Ryan has so much fun. I'm telling you, he's a treat. So they're going to have a lot of fun. Ryan, Starr, and Caleb are Fridays on Chip Howard Sports Talk. Fridays, 4 to 6 p.m. Tonight, Astros, A's. Astros will try and bounce back. And I do mean try to bounce back from getting destroyed 18-3. 18-3. 18-3. 18-3. 18-3. Oh my gosh. 18-3. Okay, I got to stop saying that, but I'm not kidding you. Ever since that game went final last night, it's kind of like etched into my skull. Because that's unreal. Ooh. It happened. Anyway, so tonight at 6:40, Astros baseball, game 1 against the A's, 18-3. Okay, on the Zone 1150 AM and 93.7 FM, Astros baseball in the Zone. All the games this weekend, 6:40 tonight, 5:40 Saturday, 12:40 Sunday. Astros baseball in the Zone, thanks to Kelly Bertozer. That's what's still ahead. Text message question from Noah. By the way, anybody can text 979-693-1150, 979-693-1150. Text message question from Noah. He said, Louie, when will the Little League College World Series end? I think after the last game goes final. I'm pretty sure that's when it ends. I mean, I don't have like a date or anything like that. I used to watch the Little League World Series. One of those things that used to be a treat when it would pop up. And it used to pop up, I think, it used to be just the final on ABC. And you're like, USA versus the world. And then they'd show like maybe the semi. But once ESPN got a hold of the Little League World Series and they ESPNized it, I stopped. They're just begging for someone to cry in the stands, and I don't want this version. And then they went from showing just, because it was so few games too, every game, and they started showing the U.S. regional finals. No, so I don't watch it anymore. So I'm sorry, no, I don't know the exact like day, time, or any of that stuff. I just don't. Sorry, man. I wish I could help you more. 979-693-1150. Just don't watch it anymore. Used to. Back in the day, the games were in black and white. We used to have to travel 10 miles uphill to buy a beer, and then 10 miles back uphill home. It was fun to have these niche, obscure. The NFL draft was like 4 days long and 14 hours, and you just lock yourself, away, and it was all a different experience, a little more hardcore to it all. And it was just fun because they were niche things that very few people enjoyed, but you could. But then with so many cable channels, not just ESPN, I mean, you have Fox 1, Fox 2, Fox Primavera, I don't know, and ESPN has 20 channels. Everything got consumed and overexposed, and they were no longer fun little things. And some of these products were not meant for me, to be overexposed, because then the word over was too exposed versus the places they existed in. So I don't know, Noah. I don't watch Little League World Series anymore. 979-693-1150. Sprint to the finish. 979-693-1150. A list. Wilson Alexander. Predicted unranked teams to finish in the AP Top 25. They predicted 6, 9, 10. That's a lot. There is a reality, and this whole week has been nothing but the AP, because most people consider the AP. Think about it. If you're a writer, former writer, working for a website, AP writers, it's how it works. So, because we didn't get this with the coaches. Everything is the AP sense, AP breakdown, AP poll. But it is pretty common. I don't want to say half, but 10 isn't half. 10's less than. It's a good chunk. That's pretty accurate. We could see 8 to 11 teams that start in the AP not finish in the AP. So who's going to jump in their place? This list of 10 predicting unranked teams to finish in the AP Top 25. Florida, they've gained so much momentum over the past 2 weeks. Clemson, sure. Dabo could. He's in a conference that has built-in wins. Boise State, absolutely. Oklahoma State, ooh. There's a lot of people trying to move too far too fast. Oklahoma State has really great, and not all, but just a trio. They have triplets, but that might be the only thing on the whole team. Cal, okay, I know nothing about them, to be fair. UNLV, that would be logical, actually. TCU, they don't have to be too good to finish top 25 in a conference that's top heavy and nothing else. Navy, here on the Louie Bellina Show, presented by CC Electric. Here on the Louie Bellina Show, we're pro-military academy, so absolutely. Virginia and Arizona. Virginia plays week 0, a week from tomorrow. Virginia's in action, right? NC State, the mid game. And then the night game has UNLV. So we could start scouting some of these potential. UNLV or Boise State's expected to be the G6 representative. Both in action. So you can start scouting. I get fascinated by this. More of the AP. Sort of. The most recent national championship for every SEC team. Most recent national championship for every AP national championship for every SEC team. I figured A&M would be more towards the back of this since it's 1939. Accurate, but it's not the worst at all. There's 5 SEC teams that have the never by their name. They've never won a national championship. So 1939 is definitely a long time ago. And that's the 6th longest since, because there's 5 that are never. A&M is the 6th longest 6. Like Georgia has the most recent 2022. Bama's 2020. Joe Burrow, LSU's 2019. Big drop off after 2019. Because you go to Auburn 2010, Florida 2008, Texas 2005, OU is 2000, Tennessee is 1998. Too bad, one more year later it could have been Prince. But again, so you want to talk about drop-offs. Those 8 teams, top half of the conference, we could say very modernish times, 98 to 2022, right? That's modernish times. Because after Tennessee at 1998, Arkansas is 1964, Ole Miss is 1960. That's not modern times. A&M's 1939, and we're deep in it now. So, who are the teams you did not hear me say? Those are the teams that are in the 5 never, ever, ever has won a national championship. The 5 teams are, if I let you guess, I think you get 4 out of 5. Maybe 5 out of 5 with extra guesses. So if 5, I should probably give you 7 guesses to be fair. What do you think? Kentucky, never. Mississippi State, never. Vanderbilt, never. South Carolina, never. Missouri, never. And again, all of those are logical. I was thinking of all of them. Maybe people would oopsie and be like South Carolina. But those are the 5 that have never, ever, ever done the ever. Vanderbilt, South Carolina, Missouri, Mississippi State, and Kentucky. And I think Kentucky, Mississippi State, Vandy, Missouri are easy. And I just think people don't think of South Carolina. Because let me ask you something. What team is it the hardest for you to remember is even in the SEC? South Carolina pops up a lot, which A&M plays them every year, and I still say that. That's a little weird for me, to me, but true. They're one of the hardest teams for me to remember that they play football in the SEC. Sure, game week, they're playing for the Boneham Trophy. Tempers Flair. It's one of the greatest rivalry trophies in all of college football, so don't get me wrong. But other than that week, South Carolina football has no radar. Some of the bad ones, like Kentucky doesn't even try and win at football, right? But I still know that their futility is noticeable. But like South Carolina thinks they're trying. Aw, it's so cute. Anyway, is there a school like that for you? That you actually maybe have to like hold your temple and squint your eyes and focus to remember they even play football in the SEC? Because South Carolina, I think, is like that for me. And yes, South Carolina's up like 50-0 at the half. And I'm like, them? This happens here? And then A&M has the greatest comeback in school history and beats them like 51-50. Now, I know the score's not right. I'm doing the, in my head, mentally paraphrasing. Greatest comeback ever. And when they got that score, it was the late third, and then you finally could breathe and go, okay, this is real. Not done. No, but real. What a game. Emotional roller coaster 101. Just play that game back. But anyway, do you have an SEC school that you're like, oh, they do play football. They try so hard. Anyway, moving on. This is all the AP manipulation stuff that I was talking about. And most top 25 opponents via the AP poll. Because this doesn't count. It does. I said top 25 opponents. Anyway, all 3 are from the SEC. I wish the CFP committee would just look at the infographic every day, one time, starting today, and through the entire college football season. Because it makes the point. The top 3, Texas. We've already talked about 7 AP top 25s. Kentucky, 7 AP top 25s. Arkansas, 7 AP top 25s. So there you go, straight up. 3 SEC teams play the most top 25 opponents via the AP top 25. Now, there's the next tier that all play 6. Hey, we have 4 more SEC schools in OU, Mississippi State, Ole Miss, and Texas A&M. It doesn't stop. We got the 5 tier. So 7 is tier 1, 6 is tier 2, 5 is tier 3. Hey, Auburn, LSU, Florida, South Carolina, Missouri. The entire SEC is in tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. So who are the non-SEC schools then, Lou? Well, thank you for asking. I appreciate it. In tier 2, Michigan, Ohio State. Tier 3, Minnesota, Washington, Nebraska, Purdue, South Carolina. The entire SEC. That's the point that Sankey coaches, the league tries to make. Not all schedules are made. And the SEC went to 9. I think that's why it kind of created this too. So re-emphasizing, pointing out, gives you an easy infographic cheat sheet to how bad it really is. Now, we Aggies, last year, how many people have to reference? Sure, this is the start. things will change. Some teams will rise, some will fall. There's always dark horses. But using the start, Texas, Kentucky, and Arkansas all have 7 scheduled right now. A&M has 6. A&M has 6. And you know why it's not even tougher? Remember how many games got dropped? How many teams in the SEC didn't schedule anyone anyway? Or it could be so much worse. So much worse. 979-693-1150. 979-693-1150. I'll take a timeout. We'll come back. Dunzo. We're going to peace out on a Friday. It's the Louie Bellina Show inside the Charles Schwab studio. Low cost, full service, best of all local. We get the best of all local because Mark Sim is our local Charles Schwab agent representative. You get to experience a modern approach to wealth management with Charles Schwab, with Mark Sim. Find him online. Get answers to your questions. Learn more at schwab.com/College Station. Charles Schwab and Company Incorporated, member SIPC. It is the Louie Bellina Show, Friday on the Zone 1150 AM and 93.7 FM.
Give it to me. Give it to me.
The Louie Bellina Show.
It's awesome. Sports, barbecue, ice cream, and
beer, and more beer. You know where.
Listen in weekdays, 11 to 2 in the Zone.
Turn it up.